Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Let's not waste time. Here's the story. She didn't see me standing in the doorway. She spun under the amber lights, her dress catching air like it was choreographed, like she was meant to be admired. And she was by him. They were dancing again. Same man. Same lazy hand on her lower back. Same smug grin like he had just stolen something and dared anyone to stop him. I clenched the edge of the table so hard I felt my nails bite wood. I had told her, warned her, if you step out there and dance with him again, then we'll be having a different talk. She said she understood. She even laughed and said, "You're cute when you're trying to be stern." But I wasn't trying to be anything. I was done. This wasn't the first time. This was just the boldest. You don't expect to see your wife swaying like that with another man in front of 50 strangers, some of whom know both of you. You don't expect her to hold his gaze like it's intimate. And you certainly don't expect her to laugh when he whispers in her ear, while her husband is right there watching. But maybe I should have. It started 3 months ago. Slips in her schedule. Unexplained strategy meetings on weekends. The fresh perfume she said she just rediscovered, even though I'd never smelled it in our home. I chalked it up to her finally investing in herself. Isn't that what supportive husbands do? Then came the phone calls. I picked up once by accident. Her phone was charging beside mine. The name that flashed on screen was Coach D. I thought it was some fitness app rep. It wasn't. I didn't confront her. Not then. I watched. Waited. Tracked the patterns. I even started using the Notes app on my phone like some paranoid detective. Tuesday, 6:22 p.m. said she had a late briefing. Came home with hair curled. Thursday, 7:03 p.m. left in jeans. Came back in a dress. Didn't explain. Saturday, 11:18 p.m. said she was too tired for our friend's birthday, then posted a story from a rooftop bar. I didn't react. Not yet. I told myself it wasn't enough. Until tonight. Until the way her body molded against his under the chandelier. Like they'd done this before. Like this wasn't just a dance, it was a ritual. And the worst part? She looked happy. Not the kind of public wife smile I was used to. She glowed. I don't know what hurts more, the betrayal or the fact that she never shined like that when she was with me. When she finally walked off the dance floor, I expected her to be breathless, embarrassed, maybe even guilty. But no. She came back smiling, cheeks flushed like a teenager who'd just gotten away with sneaking out. She picked up her champagne, sipped it like nothing happened, and said, "You're quiet tonight, Thad." Thad. Not babe. Not honey. Not even Everett like when she was pretending to respect me in front of others. Just a flat, casual Thad. Like I was someone she barely remembered from college. I didn't answer. I just stared at her, hoping she'd feel it. The heat in my chest, the rage trembling in my jaw. But she didn't even flinch. Instead, she looked past me, back toward the dance floor where he was now talking to some executives, laughing, completely at ease. That was the moment I realized. She wanted me to see. This whole night was a performance. Not for me, not for him, but for herself. To prove she could disrespect me in front of everyone and still get away with it. So I leaned closer and said it again, quieter this time, just inches from her ear. I meant what I said. If you dance with him again, we're going to have a very different kind of talk. She finally turned her full face to me, smiling, not out of affection, but pity. You don't get to threaten me, Thad, she said softly, not breaking eye contact. You gave that up years ago when you stopped matching. The words hit harder than I expected, not because they were sharp, but because they were rehearsed. She had planned this. She wanted me humiliated, small, powerless. And you know what? It worked. I didn't speak again that night. She mingled, posed for photos, even gave a little speech about community trust, while I sat in a corner finishing her untouched wine. In the car, she blasted music. Said nothing. Tapped her fingers against the steering wheel like she was counting seconds until she could be out of the same space as me. When we got home, she didn't even go to our bedroom. She grabbed a blanket from the closet and disappeared into the guest room. No explanation. No eye contact. But that's not what broke me. What broke me was the half-empty suitcase I found by her shoes the next morning. Not hidden. Not packed for a trip. Just waiting. Waiting for the next time I said something she didn't like. Waiting for when she'd decide she didn't need to pretend anymore. Waiting for the right excuse to disappear. And I know, she already had a destination. And a ride. It was a Tuesday when I caught her slipping. Funny how betrayal doesn't always explode. It leaks. Slowly, quietly, like a faucet you think you can ignore until the damage is too deep to fix. That morning, she was humming in the kitchen. Humming. Karina never hummed. She hated mornings, hated light before coffee, hated me before noon. And yet, there she was, barefoot in a robe, tapping her spoon against the rim of a mug and humming something that definitely wasn't joy for us. I asked her, sleep well. She said, best sleep in months, without even looking up. She hadn't slept in our bed. I told myself to keep calm, like always. Play the dull husband card, the background noise she could dismiss. That used to give me access. She only let her guard down when she thought I wasn't paying attention. So I asked about her day. She said she was working late again. Big meeting, some city council liaison she had to impress. That's the word she used, impress. I swallowed the urge to ask if that meant wearing the low-cut blouse she used to reserve for our anniversary dinners. Instead, I nodded and said, sounds important. She smiled like I had patted her on the head. When she left, I followed. Not in a movie style, trench coat in the rain kind of way. I waited 10 minutes, grabbed my keys, and trailed her from a block behind. I didn't even have a plan. I just needed confirmation that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't inventing this paranoia out of some pathetic insecurity. She didn't drive to City Hall. She didn't even stay in the city. She drove 30 minutes out to some lakefront cabin community I didn't even know existed. She pulled into a gravel driveway next to a black Audi SUV with tinted windows, and I watched her walk up to the door like she'd done it 100 times. No knock, no pause, just a key from her purse and a casual flip of her hair as she disappeared inside. I sat there for 47 minutes. I counted every second. My fingers trembled on the steering wheel. Not because I was in shock, but because I wasn't. I knew. Deep down, I had known for weeks. Maybe longer. When she returned home that night, I was already on the couch pretending to be asleep. She stepped in, smelling like a different kind of cologne. Not mine. Not her perfume either. Something unfamiliar. Something masculine. She walked right past me without hesitation, humming the same tune as before. And that's when I knew. She didn't think I'd ever do anything. She thought I'd stay quiet forever. But I wasn't quiet anymore. I was just waiting. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I skipped work. I sat at the kitchen table long after she left, staring at my untouched cereal, wondering when exactly my life became a stage for someone else's affair. I wasn't angry in the explosive way you see in movies. I didn't punch a wall or throw anything. I just sat there, slowly unraveling. I opened her laptop. She never logged out. Not because she trusted me, but because she didn't think I mattered enough to snoop. And maybe she was right. I wasn't the type to spy. I wasn't the type to fight. I was the type to endure. But even endurance has a limit. Her email was clean. Too clean. No messages, no drafts, not even junk. Suspiciously spotless. But I checked her calendar, and there it was, an event marked Off-Site Development Review at 3 p.m. The address? Same Lakeside Road. A completely made-up meeting with a time block she'd used before. She'd labeled her lies. Color-coded them. That's when I stopped feeling like the victim and started feeling something worse. Humiliation. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. Proof that what I felt wasn't paranoia. So I drove back to the cabin that afternoon, parked far enough not to be seen, and waited. The Audi arrived first. Then her car. They went inside again, just like yesterday. Still no knock, still no hesitation. But this time, I didn't wait in the car. I walked. Slowly, step by step, until I reached the side of the house. The curtains were half drawn, but through the gap I saw them. Her sitting on his lap, laughing, her hand on his chest like it belonged there. His hand rested too low on her waist for it to be innocent. They looked comfortable, familiar, like this wasn't a new thing, like it had history. I turned away before they could see me. My heart wasn't pounding, it was sinking. And in that moment, the betrayal stopped being about her and started being about me. Who had I become? The kind of man who watches his wife cheat from the bushes? Who whispers warnings she doesn't take seriously? I left without making a sound. No confrontation. No scene. I needed more than shock. I needed a plan. A way to hold a mirror to what she was doing, not just scream into the void like some cliché. That night, I laid in bed staring at the ceiling while she showered. She came out wrapped in a towel, humming again, scrolling through her phone with a smile. I asked casually, "How was your meeting?" She didn't even look up. Exhausting. Long. We had to redo the entire proposal. She was getting better at lying. But so was I, at pretending I believed her. I rolled over and said goodnight. Because I wasn't going to fight her in whispers anymore. I was going to make her see it. All of it. The dance. The lies. The man she thought I still was. But first, I needed her to think I was still asleep. That Thursday, I set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. Not that I had slept anyway. The moment I heard her breathing shift into the familiar rhythm of deep sleep, I slid out of bed like a ghost and tiptoed down the hall to the guest room, the one she used whenever she came home too tired to deal with me. I'd spent the last 2 days watching her routine, tracking her tells. And now it was time to slip inside the frame of her perfect little illusion. She kept her old iPad in the drawer of the desk we barely used. I charged it the night before. No passcode. She never thought of it as a threat because it was her reading device. It took less than 2 minutes of digging through cached messages and saved passwords before I found the vault. A hidden folder in her cloud account, blandly named Project Files. There were no spreadsheets, no documents, just photos and videos. Him and her. Together. Different clothes, different seasons. It had been going on for nearly a year. A year. While I thought she was attending city development meetings, she was developing a second life. Some of the pictures were taken in public, a bar, a concert, even the same fundraiser where I'd warned her not to dance with him again. And she did it anyway, knowing there were already hundreds of photos just like it hidden from me. But the worst part wasn't what they did. It was how she looked in those moments, not ashamed, not conflicted, radiant. She had saved all of this. On purpose. Like these were the real memories she wanted to keep. I transferred everything. Not to expose her yet, but to study her. Every smile, every tilt of her head, every lie she told me with her eyes the next morning while pouring coffee. At work that day, I didn't answer emails. I sat in the break room, earbuds in, watching her secret life unfold on loop while everyone else passed by thinking I was listening to a podcast. And the more I watched, the more something inside me changed. Not just the pain, the purpose. She had curated this betrayal like a scrapbook. Framed it. Protected it. That meant she thought no one would ever find it. That meant she thought I was harmless. And harmless men, when they finally move, are the ones no one sees coming. So I started planning. I went through our calendar, marked the next event she'd have to attend. I found the guest list. I knew he'd be there. I started planting things. Messages she forgot she sent. Receipts from restaurants she claimed never existed. Little clues. Not to confront her, but to remind her that the cracks were forming. That night, I asked her if she wanted to go out for dinner Saturday. She blinked, caught off guard. "You want to go out?" "Yeah," I said, smiling. "I miss being seen with you." She looked at me for a beat longer than usual. Hesitation. Then, "Sure. That sounds nice." But she was already rewriting the evening in her head. She'd find a reason to cancel last minute. She'd say she had a migraine, or a last-minute call, or a wardrobe emergency. And when she did, I'd be ready. Because I wasn't going to catch her in the act. I was going to hand her the mirror and watch her look away. Saturday arrived like it was holding its breath. The whole house felt tight, like even the walls knew something was coming. I shaved, put on the cologne she used to compliment before compliments became chores, and set the table for two. She came downstairs halfway through the day in yoga pants and a fake yawn, rubbing her temples. "Hey," she said casually, "don't be mad, but I think I have to skip dinner tonight." They pulled a last-minute virtual check-in with the city board. Of course they did. I nodded, pretending not to notice she was already wearing more makeup than a Zoom call demanded. "That's fine," I replied, folding the napkins I didn't plan to use. "I'll just order something in." She looked relieved, too relieved, kissed my cheek like a mother humoring a child, then vanished upstairs to change. I watched her go, already picturing the dress she'd choose. She always wore red when she wanted to be remembered. By 7:30, she was gone. Said the meeting was downtown, but the GPS I planted under the seat told me otherwise. Same cabin road, same coordinates, same routine. But tonight, I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Tonight wasn't about catching her again. It was about letting her know I had. While she was gone, I set my plan into motion. First, I printed 4 of the most damning photos from her secret album. Not graphic, just suggestive enough to shatter her version of the truth. Her hand on his chest. him lifting her off the ground mid-laugh. One of her curled up in his hoodie, asleep, in a place I'd never been. Then I placed them strategically. One under her pillow, one taped behind the bathroom mirror, one slipped into her makeup bag, and the last one, folded neatly inside her favorite hardcover book, the one she always pretended to read when she wanted to avoid talking to me. The house was silent when she returned near midnight. I watched from the shadows of the hallway as she tiptoed through the living room, heels in hand, smiling to herself. That smile wilted the second she stepped into the bathroom. A pause, a breath, the sound of the mirror door opening. Silence, then the rustle of paper. She emerged 3 minutes later, eyes scanning the room like prey in a field. I stepped into view slowly, deliberately, holding her makeup bag, the corner of the second photo barely peeking out. She didn't say a word. Her mouth opened, then closed again, as if forming an apology was somehow harder than the betrayal itself. I told you, I said quietly, placing the bag on the table. If you danced with him again, we'd have a different kind of talk. Her face drained. She reached for something, a defense, an excuse, maybe even a lie, but I walked past her before she could deliver it. I went upstairs, locked the bedroom door behind me, and for the first time in over a year, I slept like someone who wasn't being lied to. She didn't knock. Not that night. Not the next morning either. But she started moving differently. More careful. More aware. As if realizing I wasn't the man she thought she could keep in the dark. She had no idea that I was just getting started. By Monday, the house had transformed into a stage of awkward silences and fake routines. Karina moved like she was afraid to touch anything, as if even the floorboards might betray her secrets. She tried to act normal, reheating old leftovers, folding laundry that didn't need folding, asking how my day was even though we both knew she didn't care. But her eyes gave her away. They kept drifting toward me like she was waiting for the next explosion. Only I didn't explode. I stayed calm, almost serene, and that unsettled her more than any screaming match could have. I had no interest in revenge. Not the loud, messy kind. What I wanted was truth and exposure. Not to the world, just to her. I wanted her to sit in the discomfort of what she'd created. I wanted her to understand, truly understand, that I wasn't stupid and I wasn't weak. I was awake, and I wanted her to feel it. So I turned the pressure up, slowly. Subtle shifts. I removed our wedding photo from the mantle and replaced it with an empty frame. I changed my phone password. Started coming home late. When she asked where I'd been, I simply smiled and said, out. No explanations. No details. Let her wonder for a change. I even planted a receipt from a restaurant I'd never eaten at inside my coat pocket, just sticking out enough for her to notice when she did the laundry. A fancy steakhouse with a timestamp that overlapped with her own lie from the weekend before. I wanted her off balance, doubting her grip on the narrative. That Thursday, I received a message. Not from her. From him. Donovan. It was a single sentence. You know, right? I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have a lot to say, but because I wanted to see how he handled silence. 10 minutes later, another message followed. This one was longer. I didn't expect it to go this far. I thought it was just a thing. I didn't know she was still with you until recently. She told me you were done. That last part hit differently. She told him we were done. Not broken, not struggling. Just done. Like I was some expired subscription she forgot to cancel. I stared at the screen for a long time, then did something that surprised even me. I invited him to talk. Face to face. Neutral ground. No threats. No confrontation. Just the truth. We met at a park on the edge of town. I watched him walk toward me with the expression of a man who didn't know whether to apologize or brace for a punch. I didn't give him either. I just asked, did she ever mention my name when you were with her? He shook his head. She called you the situation. Said you were temporary. Said you'd understand eventually. That was the moment I stopped feeling betrayed and started feeling something colder. I thanked him. Genuinely. And as I stood to leave, I said, you won't be hearing from her again. Not after this weekend. He asked why. I didn't answer. But I knew exactly why. Because this weekend, I'd be the one who vanished. Saturday morning came like a quiet goodbye. I had already packed 2 suitcases the night before. Nothing dramatic, just the essentials. No notes. No explanations. Just a final act of clarity. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand, next to a photo she had once said was her favorite. Us on our 3rd anniversary, back when smiles weren't staged and her eyes didn't drift toward another man. She didn't see me leave. She was asleep, probably assuming I'd be downstairs brewing coffee, still trying to fix what she broke. But I had stopped trying. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Done shrinking myself to keep someone who was already gone. By noon, I was checked into a small guest house 2 towns over. I'd already made arrangements to work remotely and had rented a short-term apartment. It wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful. There were no lies hanging in the air. No photos of a life that only existed in appearance. Just silence. Honest silence. That evening, she called. Once. Then again. I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I wanted me to heal. She followed up with a text. Where are you? We need to talk. But we didn't. Not anymore. By Monday, the texts turned into apologies. By Wednesday, they became accusations. You just ran away? Like a coward? No, not a coward. Just someone who finally realized that staying silent wasn't strength. It was slow death. Weeks passed. Then something strange happened. I started laughing again. Not the hollow, polite laugh I'd learned to fake in our last year together. Real laughter. From stupid jokes. From unexpected joy. I took long walks. I read actual books. I even started sketching again, something I hadn't done since college. Little by little, I came back to myself. Not the man she left, but the one she never bothered to see. And in all of it, the part that still surprises me most? I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I just hope she someday realizes that when you dance too many times with someone else, you don't just step on your partner's heart. You walk them straight out the door. Thank you for listening. If you've ever been in a situation where someone thought you'd never leave, what finally pushed you to walk away? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about it below. You're watching Reddit Confessions, where the truth always finds its way out.